Hello, this is the front desk.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of the Crackenbacks podcast with your hosts, Dr. Terry Wyman and Dr. Spencer Barron. How are you doing this morning, guys?
I'm doing fantastic.
Good to see you, Lance.
That's great to hear. So today we are joined by Alex Othmer. Alex served as a Navy SEAL from 2013 to 2021. And upon honorable discharge from the Navy, Alex served as the Executive Director of Organizational Development at a biotechnology company and is now the co-founder and executive director at Guardian Revival. Guardian Revival is a non-profit organization focused on bettering first responder mental health. You're friends with a previous guest of ours, aren't you, Alex?
That's right.
There you go.
All right, and I'm glad you said friend. So he won't get mad at us. Hey, you know what? Thank you, Alex, for not only being on the show, but I have to say right off the bat, thank you for your service, not only for our country, but as a Special Forces Navy SEAL. Also, thank you for putting this program together called Guardians Revival. We'll talk about that a little bit. But for us mere mortals that just watch SEAL teams on TV, and read about it and dream about it and pretend that we're actually badass, but we're really not. What got you into the SEAL program?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question, and great question to kick it off with. So I've always had a strong desire to serve in the military since I was a young lad, and my father was a New York City firefighter, so 9/11 had a very visceral impact on me. So I didn't really know I wanted to be a SEAL until maybe like sophomore, junior year in college. I read a book called Lone Survivor, and I was just like, this is what I want to do. And I'm fueled by service. I want to keep the luxuries and the freedom we have here in the United States omnipresent, and I don't want to let that slip. So I want to be a part of that effort.
Hey, Alex, it's good to meet you. The unfortunate side effect of serving has been pervasive to so many military and first responders. Our whole theme here is mental toughness, and that could apply to everybody that could be going through it, but primarily, your group. And how did you get to that mental toughness or mental resilience? What did you always have it, or was it something that you developed?
Yeah, it's a great question, Dr. Barron. I think my answer is that it's a hybrid between nature and nurture. I believe that some of the traits you're born with, some of them through your environment you develop and hone in. But it's really just been, I grew up playing sports. I grew up in a very rural area in upstate New York. I was exposed to a lot of challenging stimuli in my environment and experiences that forced me to, deal with certain things. And I think just over time, just failing and also just seeing myself in my worst situation, but recouping and recovering out of it, I think over time, again, just allows you to build that mental resiliency that allows you to fail, get back up, and just keep moving type thing, which is necessary to live that life as a special operator.
Terry and I, we live our life treating athletes, from, high school to pro, and, mental toughness and resilience is, it's you don't always see it, but the ones who do well, they have it. And did you have any experiences growing up that you realized that you had that characteristic, or you better develop it or you're going to get beat up or punked or something like that? Did you ever notice?
I can't really recall one circumstance that made me recognize it. I think just like I call it like just like the little jab that you get from your childhood time and time again through sports, through injury, through you getting in a fight at a playground, getting beat up, or then maybe beating somebody up. Like just a combination of those things, I just blends together into just a childhood and then like a teenhood that really exposed me to a lot of things. So I couldn't really point out one specific thing, but I've had like plenty of my own failures and moments of mental weakness where I quit something or gave up on something. I didn't just have this, like this superhuman childhood where I just tackled everything and was successful. And, there was a lot of failure that happened before I reached my peak.
I think failure is great. I mean, it's a great thing to experience, especially at a young age. I often say to my boys, the best thing you can go through is a heartbreak and going broke at a young age. So you get through it, you toughen up, and move ahead.
Yeah.
If you recall any particular adversities that you had to dig deep to get through, I mean, if you could share one of those things that is always maybe a personal story or something, but like I know that I hear my coach from high school wrestling always repeating, gotta go, can't stop, gotta go. So when the shit hits the fan, I hear this figurehead that was my idol growing up, always saying that and repeating it. So you have anything like that that goes on? Or a mantra or a visual image?
Yeah, I think in my worst moments, I've always been in a team environment, a team dynamic. So I always had somebody else to serve. So if that makes sense. So like, for example, like during, Hell Week, in Budge, you're a part of like a boat crew team, or like if you're overseas in a combat scenario, you're part of a team, right? So like when things get difficult and challenging, it's easy for me to replace myself and be like, Alex, you need to do this for yourself, but it's like, Alex, you need to do this for somebody else. So specific instances, I think a lot about high school football because that's like, in my eyes, like the moment where you really do get challenged in a lot of ways. And, I just recall like, every football game and every situation where a game was close or one of my teammates got injured, I always had the ability to react and like revenge whatever was done wrong to us. And it was displayed in an immediate like physical manner. So I can go back and just hit somebody twice as hard, So it's just like pretty like cut and dry, So those instances where like somebody hits you and you just have an opportunity to hit them harder, right? They wrong you and you hit them hard. So
That's great, man. Yes.
Hey, I have to go back. You said you decided to become a Navy SEAL after watching kind of the movie Lone Survivor. And the irony on that is I treat the stuntman who did that movie, who played the hero, who felt when they shot him and he had to fall down that cliff over and over and over. He actually won Stuntman of the Year for that stunt because the director literally told him, put a small flak jacket on and go jump off that cliff. And so he did. He went off the cliff. He hit a tree, broke 3 ribs, kept going. And the director goes, I didn't like the way you looked off that tree. Can you do it again? Had to go up the hill, throw himself back into the tree, and kept going down. And so when I see that movie, of course I think of Zach, but when I see the movie, I'm like, why would anybody want to be a Navy SEAL? And you went the opposite. You're like, I want to be that guy. What was it about that movie that lit you up?
It was actually, I read the book actually. So
Okay.
The book, it came out first, obviously, and then the movie eventually. So several years later. So I went to the Merchant Marine Academy out in Long Island, New York, and I was staying at one of my buddies' house who lived in Long Island, and we had a night of drinking, and then I was about to go to sleep, and it was like 4:30 in the morning, and I was still very intoxicated, and I was like leaning down, I was sleeping on his couch, and I laid over and I looked, and I saw the book Lone Survivor on like the bookshelf, and I grabbed it. I still have the book to this day. I grabbed it and I opened it up and like perused through it, and then I just started reading it. I didn't stop. I read it until like 11:30 in the morning when everyone was starting to wake up after a long night of drinking. I never went to sleep. I just read the whole book.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that's what I want to do type thing.
Interesting way to sober
Holy
up.
crap.
That was pretty good.
Right. So I think it was a combination,
Yeah.
right? Like I had this expressive, creative
Yeah.
moment where I was like, "Oh, I could change my life. Look at me. I'm a useless, college kid boozing. So I'm gonna try to do something better."
Hey, Alex, I want to add. Terry brought up the movie thing. You guys are talking about the book and all that, but man, I do have to mention something that there's a movie, Oildale, that you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I watched the trailer to it, and I mean, listen, man, I had tears in my eyes just from the trailer. So I can't imagine what the movie's like. I know you have an allegiance to that movie because of how accurately it was depicted. Can you share some thoughts and feelings about that?
Yeah, sure. So Oildale. So my cousin, she was one of the stars in the movie, and in short, the movie Jessica Costello. So, in short, the movie was really a powerful representation of what our veterans feel when they come back home from serving overseas. And yeah, that movie like had me really choked up, right? Because it was short, but it was very impactful, and like I think it was a combination of the actors, the cast, and the music. Like it was just I don't know if you guys, I don't know Terry if you've seen it really, but like you guys should really watch it. I know it didn't go viral and it wasn't a huge major motion picture, but I was very impressed with the way that there was a lot of like silence and a lot of just visualization to represent the struggles that you deal with with PTSD and all that. So
You're
yeah,
right.
good doing the research.
The
Good.
acting in just the trailer, it moved me. I mean, just that alone, I could not get over. So, I can't imagine how much it resonated for someone who's been through it or, deals with that stuff. Just
Wow.
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah, it was. He told me about it at our break at our last recording, and I watched the trailer. I'm like, I gotta watch this tonight. So it's really cool. The other thing I want to ask about, and we'll get to more stuff, but I've always been fascinated with buds, and I had a kid that was on our mountain bike team, and he wanted to be a SEAL, and he was all excited about it. And he would leave when we're all going to bed. He'd drive down to Malibu and go swimming at 11 o'clock at night, and he would do all this kind of stuff. And when he got the buds, he goes, "That was like the most fun I've ever had." And he's like, "The sugar cookies were awesome," and he's going on. It's like it takes a certain mentality to actually enjoy being comfortable in uncomfortable environments. And is that something that you think you're born with, that you can discover, or you just learn how to overcome?
I think again that goes back to the 50-50, half nature, half nurture. I think that a lot of the success you see in a difficult military pipeline, or really any selection process, really comes down to the candidate or the individual's history of failing and being challenged and faced with adversity. The whole, we get psychologists and scientists that come in and try to study like the success rates and what makes a BUD/S student successful in becoming a SEAL, and they really can't put their finger on it, but you see these incredible athletes come through, Olympic athletes, but they fail on the first day, right? And I remember, my swim buddy was like this quiet kid from upstate New York who ran an ice cream stand with his father, and then you have the Harvard graduate who played football, scored a perfect score on the SATs, looked like Superman, and he dropped out in the first day type thing. So you see a lot of these inconsistencies with trying to try to figure out what's the secret sauce, and the only thing I can come to a conclusion is it's failing, right? People that go into something like that, the pipeline is designed to make you fail, right? Just like in combat, at some point in time you're going to fail. So they want to see how you recover, and if you haven't failed before and you haven't had that experience of failing, getting thrown on your face and getting up again, when you do deal with that in BUD/S, which you certainly will, then make sure you do, you're just going to be walking all over yourself. You'll get in your head, and before you know it, you're on your way to ring the bell.
I think that's a great lesson in life, isn't it? I mean, it has nothing to do with special forces, but it's like I think the best
Yeah.
businessmen, the best fathers, the best people are the ones that have failed and figure out how to get off of that. I think that's a
Yeah.
great life lesson.
I mean, you guys know, right? Like becoming a doctor in whatever discipline like requires a tremendous amount of like effort, extraordinary amount of effort. And like people laugh. I'm like, well, there's a lot of similarities between becoming a SEAL, becoming a doctor, or pursuing some, you know, status or some occupation in life that requires a lot of effort, years of school, years of training. And it really just comes down to like, are you willing to go through what you have to go through to see the ends mean? And like, if you have a true purpose and you're like, this is what I want to do and this is why I want to do, and like nobody can shake that, then you're capable of doing anything. It's easy to say, but like it's true. You see humans do incredible things.
Absolutely.
Civilians pick cars off of people or pick up cars off of people or do these crazy things in public to save another person. It's just like as long as your reasoning is strong, you can do a lot.
I so agree with you. I mean, I so agree with you. I got, going from switching gears a little bit, going from the military life and the support, both everything around you, to civilian life is a really hard transfer. What lessons did you kind of learn when you're going from that? Because like you just said, I always say that to interns when they come to me from school, you don't become a good doctor till you have a patient walk out worse than they walked in, and you realize what I just did not work. And or a patient that yelled at you saying, now I hurt worse, or I'm not better. I don't think you get better as a human until you do fail and you do a reflection. But what thing that we don't understand is in the military life and then that transition to civilian life is a huge transformation. And again, some people can handle it better than others. But what lessons have you learned that that you can pass on to others?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say the biggest disappointment that I had going back into civilian life was just I'm a big optimist and I always see the best in people. So I often would count on people like I would count on them back in the SEAL teams, and then I would quickly be disappointed that they didn't follow through with what they were going to say, what they were going to do. So there's a higher incidence of people that just talk the talk but don't walk the walk, that aren't really there for you, that don't have your back, and that was a hard, steep learning curve for me. And so be careful with who you're having watch your back, right? Don't be anxious and on edge all the time and not trust anybody, but just be careful with who you test it out, test the waters, make sure you have some good foundational experiences with them and that you can count on them. And then the people that you find in life that you can count on, hold on to them tight and hold on to them real tight because they don't come around often.
Yeah, I often tell my staff from years and years ago, or interns that are coming into the world of healthcare, that if you tell a patient that you're going to do something, you better follow through, man, because you're only as good as your word. And that should be like that with everything. But I mean, when you're talking to a patient, they're coming in confused and scared and concerned, and man, they look up to you to help in this way, not just the pain that they're experiencing. So I appreciate your understanding that that's the teammate concept that you have. You probably miss that, don't you?
You do.
Yeah. Do you guys get together ever? Do you have groups of guys that you hang out with?
Yeah, I still do. I stay in touch. Probably more than half of the guys I entered service with are still in. Usually you get a division of guys at an 8 to 10 year mark in service where they either get out or they just go to retirement. And usually the guys that stay in either have a family already, have some stability, or just are comfortable with their position. I wasn't comfortable, quite frankly. Like, the war was dying down, and I didn't want to sit behind a desk because as an officer, you have less and less operational time out on the battlefield. So I wanted to move on and, get out and start a new career, start a family. So it's challenging to stay in touch with a lot of the guys that are still in because they're still deploying, and they still have a crazy schedule. So, but the ones that are out, you kind of gravitate towards each other and create that network outside of the military.
Did you adapt to civilian life quickly or slowly, or how did it work for you?
No, it was definitely a long transition period, very challenging. What I realize is when you leave while you're in service, and you guys can relate to this, right, from like a pain tolerance standpoint, like when you're in service and you're wearing the uniform, like all you care about, or at least I believe what you should care about, is being the best you possibly can, being a lethal asset for the United States to do its work and keep our nation safe. And you don't think about yourself or your injuries. But the moment I told myself and signed my papers and said I was going to be leaving, all these injuries just started popping up on my body. I started getting pains and stuff that I never knew I had. I never once went to medical to get seen for a serious injury during my entire time in service, just because I was terrified of like not being operational, not deploying. So I would just hide everything, and I totally tore my rotator cuff off. I tore my labrum in both my hips. Serious spinal issues, like a lot of really bad things I never got seen for. In the last 6 months, I had to go back and like record all these injuries so I could get my disability. Because who knows what the injury is going to, cascade to, 6 years, 10 years down the road. So that was like really interesting. The moment I like left, things started coming up, and I started listening to my body because I was ignoring my body for, the entire time I was in the military. So that was an interesting phenomenon that I'm sure a lot of other guys can understand.
Alex, we had a mental conditioning coach, Will Lensner, who we had on one of our podcasts, and he was talking about mental health, and he works with the Angels, the LA Angels, the baseball team and a hockey team and all that. Anyway, great guy. But Terry, how about what he said about the difference of guys coming back from World War II versus now?
Right.
And how
they had the boat to detox, where now they just put them on a plane and they're home in 12 hours.
Yeah.
Where they in World War II they had a 2-week boat trip to kind of detox. Yeah. He said that was a huge difference between them and now. It was huge.
There is no.
It's crazy. You don't even think
right?
about those things.
I'm thinking when he said that, it was like revelation, man. It's like nobody. I'm sure nobody thinks of stuff like that.
No.
I don't think a lot of people think about a lot of things. I mean, let's just lay it out there. I mean, I think people want to sit back and get on their social media and critique people that have never walked a day in their shoes or don't know what it takes to be able to yell at somebody else because of the freedoms we got. Spend 5 days in Russia or 5 days in some of these other countries, and they have no clue, yet they think they do, And so I think that's why podcasts like this or talking to people such as yourself are so important for people just to sit back, and when they see a vet on the street corner with a hat, why don't you go up and talk to them and ask them about their story? Why are we, they served our country, whether it was in World War II or Korea or Afghanistan or something like that. And now we're looking at him like, oh, that's a guy in the corner. No, that's a guy that's allowing you to yell at your neighbor, So, we have to totally appreciate that. But you brought up something that a lot of athletes, let's take away the fact that you're a special forces athlete, but a lot of athletes go through, like I work with a high school football team, and during the game and during the program, these guys are battling, and the next day on injury clinic, when I get them to calm down, relax, all of a sudden they go, oh yeah, my shoulder's killing me, my hip's killing me, my ankle's killing me. But during the game, they don't feel squat. So as an ex-Special Forces athlete, who's been banged around a lot, who's been beat up a lot, who had to suck it up a lot. I have a torn labrum, and I'm trying to go up my hill, and I'm like, oh, this sucks. And you're probably running through jungles with yours. Thank you very much for making me feel like an idiot. But how do you continue to stay fit, and what's your program now with your workout and your diet? Because I know you've tweaked those a little bit. I have an inside little guy telling me that you're kind of really watch your diet and your workout. So how do you look at your diet and your workout and take it serious?
Yeah, it's probably about 90% diet, 10% workout.
All right, talk to me.
Yeah. I eat predominantly an animal-based diet, and, believe it or not, I can stay in pretty good shape and maintain most of my muscle mass with, working out 2-3 days a week. I don't need to, per se, like living in 21st century, my job role. Like, I really don't need to work out and carry around a bunch of muscles. So I'm okay with, being 20 or 30 pounds below my fighting weight. It's easier on the joints, on the knees, things like that. But yeah, I don't really have a crazy workout routine. I just have a pull-up bar, a dip bar. I do push-ups, occasionally little arms, and try to run here and there, and even walking type thing.
Right, you're not like Monty doing his arm thing.
No, I've had those moments. I'm not gonna lie. I've had those moments, but I don't do that anymore. No.
That's great.
All
right. So we're going to switch gears a little bit, Alex. We're going to get some adrenaline flowing, and we have a segment that we call rapid fire questions. They require a one-line answer. Sometimes we drift off into talking about what the answer that you came up with, but for the most part, it's boom, 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 ready to go. Are you ready, Alex? Okay.
I'm ready.
What is your favorite song that you get ready to go for?
Oh God, I'm already failing. Freebird.
Freebird.
Oh yeah, little Leonard Skinner.
Monty had those chimes. What was that? Those ohms.
Oh, we were totally like, what? Are you kidding me?
We thought it'd be like AC/DC. It's like, no, those synchronized songs. I'm like, all right.
It was really cute. Yeah. Okay. All right. Number 2, Alex. If you have time for one exercise, well, you kind of mentioned it a moment ago, but what would it be if you had the time and the drive to do it?
So
an exercise, yeah.
Pull
up. That's right. All right. Big arms. That's what we're talking about. All right. This is number 3. What is your favorite Navy SEAL movie, if there is one?
Lone Survivor.
Of course. There we go.
Yeah, I was actually going to vote for the Charlie Sheen one.
No.
That was a good one.
That was a fun one.
Okay. Here's a good one. Number 4. You, my friend, have an unlimited tonnage license. You may want to explain what that is, but what is the coolest boat you ever captained or piloted?
The USS Stennis. It's an aircraft.
How come?
carrier.
Oh, jeez. Really? Oh, man. Oh, my God. What was that like?
All right.
The John C. Stennis. Yep.
All right. You have to tell the audience first off, what is a unlimited tonnage license, and how many people in the world have that?
I don't know the answer to the second question, but an unlimited license is really just means you can pilot any sized vessel ever. So as little as a little motorboat, and as big as a aircraft carrier or a oil rig or whatever it may be.
How the hell did you get that, and where did that come from?
Well, I went to school for it. So the Merchant Marine Academy was essentially created like during World War II, so that we could increase the amount of boat captains essentially that can move supplies over to the Pacific and European theater. And that's what that school's about. I commissioned and didn't really use my license in the Merchant Marines, but yeah, that's what the school's design is. So everybody leaving there either is an unlimited tonnage or unlimited licensed, deckmate or a engineer.
An aircraft carrier? What?
Yeah, but it's so easy. Like honestly, you could put a toddler. It's like playing a video game. It's so easy. It's not. It doesn't require much effort at all. It's just cool.
But still, you're looking out this big glass window, I imagine, over the ocean, and you have this view of your deck and maybe some planes on there, or maybe that's behind. I don't even know. But did you feel like one step closer to God at that moment?
We were actually next to an oiler, another ship. We were doing unrep, or we were just departing from an unrep. So we had another massive ship that was, a couple hundred yards from us. So it really added to the contrast of the experience.
Wow. I mean, that takes F1 racing to a whole new level where they're inches apart. When these cars, and you're inches apart with two cities. They were
right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it was cool.
Okay, I got one last question, but see how we drift off into other stuff? There you go. Okay, Alex, number 5. What was your favorite memory from Buds?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm trying to think. So many good memories.
I think so.
I want to keep it PG too.
No. You can let it fly. You can.
I appreciate your confidence, but you never know. I would say there was. So on the last night that we have, right? So we do something called around the island. So we get in a little paddle boat. And it's the last evolution, and you paddle all the way around Coronado Island with your boat crew. And it's at nighttime, and you're so delirious because you haven't slept for 5 days, and you're just in a total delirious state. You're falling asleep in the boat while you're trying to paddle, and you have to go to these different points on the island, and you make it. I wish I had a map to show you, but. There was one point in time where we had the class that went after you, the older guys that have been there already, they come out and swim out food for you, right? Because you're just always hungry. So that this group of SEAL candidates that were at the next level of training in the second phase, the diet phase, they swam out with a bunch of wetsuits with a dry sack full of McDonald's cheeseburgers, and they swam out to our boat a couple hundred yards off in the ocean. And threw us this whole sack of cheeseburgers, and we were just super excited, obviously, because we were starving and we were delirious, and we just wanted to do everything but what we were doing now at that moment. So we eat all these cheeseburgers, and we had this one guy on the boat that was really, really sick, and we were trying to keep him going because we were very close to finishing. And he's like, "No, man, you shouldn't eat those cheeseburgers." He was delirious, but he's like, "You shouldn't eat those cheeseburgers. We're gonna find out." I'm like, "What are you talking about? We're out here, nobody can see us, we're going to do it." So, I probably ate 10 cheeseburgers at least, double cheeseburgers from McDonald's. And I think there were fries in there, but they were all soggy, so we threw them out. And then we get to the next checkpoint, we come out of the boat, out of the water, and the instructors are all there. There's a fresh crew of instructors that were doing the morning turnover, so it was 3:30 in the morning. And we all get off on the boat, and the instructors, they know this whole thing, right? They know that guys come out and swim out the food because this is the only opportunity that we're not supervised. And they're like, "All right, everybody open your mouths." And we all open our mouths up, and the instructor goes down the line, and I had cheese and burgers and pickles caked in my gums, and there was no hiding it. And he opens up my mouth, and he's like, "What the fuck did you just..." And just got beat. I just got beat for another 2 or 3 hours, and just destroyed. And it was great because it was so bad. The instructors stopped going down the line to check the rest of my guys and just focused on me because I was the class leader. I was the OIC in charge of the class, and they just grabbed me and just freaking sent me back to hell. And everyone else was alright, but Yeah, all for some McDonald's cheeseburgers. It was good.
Wow.
All right. The question I got to ask now: have you been to McDonald's since?
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah.
That was good.
All right.
Wow.
That's good. All right. We're gonna switch gears a little bit and let's talk about your charity. What made you start a charity instead of joining one?
Yeah, so going through my own mental health struggles and finding my own path to healing and wanting to scale that to other veterans and first responders, really. So it came down to like, I saw how a lot of organizations worked, and I wanted to take what I didn't think they did well and just create my own program and organization and run it the way I wanted to, really. So.
And what is this program? Tell everybody about it.
So Guardian Revival, I founded it back in 2019 when I got off active duty, and it was kind of like a moonlight thing. As I was working at that biotech company, I started building out, I started, building out my board of directors, and then I eventually quit that job at the biotech company and went full-time Guardian Revival, and, really just expanded the organization tremendously in a matter of, 2.5 years. We have 3 core programs. We have a canine program called Boots and Paws, where we provide service dogs and companion dogs to veterans and first responders in need. We have a therapeutic music program where we provide veterans and first responders with opportunities to learn, write, play, and share music. And then we have an outdoor adventure program where we provide veterans and first responders with the opportunity to participate in structured outdoor activities like hiking, backpacking, kayaking, snowshoeing, things like that. So those are our 3 core programs, and the idea behind that was to provide alternative means of healing, longer lasting habits, activities, things that people can embody and really lean on to help and improve their mental health and well-being. When I got out and I started dealing with my own mental health issues, I went to the VA, which is the largest integrated healthcare system in the United States, and unfortunately, they're dealing with such a massive population that all they could really offer me at the time was like prescription drugs. They just handed me like a Chinese menu of prescription drugs, and I'm just like, I'm good. And I had to go out and figure out how to deal with my own stuff. So I just like rapidly started searching for what will work for me, and it was getting a dog, a companion. It was spending more time outside. It was using music as a means to regulate my own emotions and thoughts. And now I just wanted to scale this and make this accessible to as many people as possible. And not just veterans, but first responders, because, my whole family is first responders, and I think they deal with just as much trauma, if not more, than our veteran populations. And I think dealing with that trauma here domestically, and, also in keeping with our discussion earlier about that 2-week boat ride that our World War II veterans had relative to a 12-hour plane ride for our modern day veterans. There's no lines of demarcation in the psyche of a first responder. You could go to an accident and see a bunch of dead children, and then 2 hours later you're walking through the door of your house to eat dinner with your kids and your wife or your husband. And I don't think that we've done a good enough job characterizing how serious the suicide rates are for our first responder communities. And not only that, like getting them resources and finding out ways that they can address the issues they're having while they're still in uniform, and then also in preventative ways as well, because they're afraid of, the stigmas, but also losing their job, right? Like you raise your hand up and say, I need help. You're getting your gun pulled from you. Like that's the fact of the matter. Like you need some help, and those are some serious barriers to guys going out and seeking help.
I heard you recite some statistics on the unfortunate suicide. Do you happen to remember them off the top of your head?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you look at the best way that I like to describe the veteran suicide rates and how serious it is less than half. There's about, if you include National Guard, active duty military, there's about 20 million veterans and service members in the United States, right? Less than half of those individuals who are eligible for VA healthcare are even enrolled in the VA alone. And we get our statistics from the VA. So, you see 18 to 20 veterans dying by suicide a day. That's not really, a true number, I believe. I believe it's way higher. There's a lot of suicide rates we're missing. There was a recent study that came out from a private organization that tried to counter some of the numbers the VA put out. And they studied in like 8 different states the way the counties at the municipal level registered like death, right, and categorized death. And it varied like significantly. So they went back and tried to retroactively identify suicides through additional means of like overdose and like severe substance abuse, things like that. And now they're seeing that the numbers in those 8 states might be double or 2.4 times what we thought as a national suicide rate for veterans. So that means like possibly up to like 44 veterans a day are dying by suicide.
Oh my God.
So it's pretty serious, right? So that means that's like up to 6 veterans are 6 times more likely to die by suicide than their non-veteran counterparts. We're seeing between the ages of 18 and 34, which the highest incidence of suicide among our veterans, male, obviously, but women too. We're seeing a lot of suicide rates jump in those populations and underserved minorities as well. For first responders, it's what we know is that we are only accounting for about 40% of first responder suicides. The rest is unknown or unaccounted for. And we do know that more first responders die by suicide every year than in the line of duty. So we just have a lot of work to do to really properly characterize how bad it really is, which is important, right? We have to know how bad the problem is so that Congress and every level of government can throw more resources at this, and private industry, quite frankly, needs to get more involved, right? When you see a crazy, you guys know what DARPA is?
No.
No.
DARPA, it's an agency. It's a government agency. It's the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, I believe. But they're responsible for housing all of that super crazy advanced technology before it goes into government use, right? So DARPA has technology that the government will probably use 20 or 30 years from now, right? And it's an incubator and connective tissue for private industry so that they can, we can tap into private industry and all the incredibly smart and, talented people we have in private industry and get access to proprietary information and technologies. And we don't, I think we need something like that for this, right? We need to have like a super, we have to incentivize this because there's just a lot of work to be done.
Well, the government seems to be throwing out a lot of money at different things lately. I think that this is a cry for help that needs to be attended to in a big, big way. So,
100%.
It's a good time for you to be doing this. Go ahead, Terry. Sorry.
Absolutely. Hey, Spencer and I are big dog people. Can you elaborate more on this Boots and Paws program you have?
Yeah, sure. So Boots and Paws is like our front-running program. Everybody loves dogs, right? And every time I go into a room and I talk to like a population of even like donors, right? Big donors or sponsors or even guardians, veterans and first responders, I'm like, raise your hand if you have a dog or you have had a dog before. 90% of the room raises their hand, right? Raise your hand if you have went out hiking once, or went outdoors and benefited from that. Everyone raised their hand. And then the same thing goes with music. Who doesn't listen to music, right? You don't have to play music to achieve therapeutic outcomes, but playing music. So especially when it comes to dogs, right? Like I grew up with dogs, and dogs to me have an incredible therapeutic effect on us, right? Man's best friend. And I always try to relate people that don't have dogs. I try to explain to them that like having a dog is like a mirror, it's like dogs only know what you tell them and what you teach them and how you train them, right? They're innocent as it gets, right? They don't know anything else. So people are like, oh, my dog's not listening to you. I'm like, well, you're not listening to your dog type thing. Your dog always knows if something's up, right? They can see energy and a whole other level of reality that we can't see, and that just provides like instantaneous feedback on on your current psychological, emotional, spiritual state. Just like horses, like equine therapy, right? Like animals are incredibly good at picking up on things that we can't pick up on, right? They're, whether or not they're predatory or they're not, they still have that ability. So dogs offer that same thing, like your dog will always be there for you, right? They're always greeting you at the door. They might get sad, but they're always there for you. And that's just like a crazy like benefit if you're a veteran or first responder suffering, right? Like one of the first indicators of risk of suicide is isolation, right? You have veterans and first responders that isolate. They don't want to talk to people. They're by themselves for whatever reason. And if you have a dog there with you, that it just changes everything, the whole dynamic. So just getting a dog in the hands of somebody, that could mean a matter of life and death, right? Which was my case when I got my dog. It changed everything. It changed my whole experience, and quite frankly, I believe saved my life. I had something to get out of bed every day for, right? You have to walk, you have to go out with your dog, you have to feed him, you have to walk him. If you sleep in too late, they're crying because they want to get out, right? Like it has a whole layer of meaning and purpose in your life.
Do you?
We've been kind of jiving a lot about Monty, but Monty just recently got a companion dog. Mm-hmm. And you can tell by his social media posts that how it changed him. And so I'm going to let Spencer speak in a second, but I want to stay on this. You have a challenge coming up. Now, by the time this podcast airs, the challenge will have started. But as a recording date, it's coming up starting Saturday. And our office jumped on board 100%. We're trying to raise enough money to get a companion dog somebody. I mean, we always hear we need to do something. Well, we're trying to actually do something. Can you tell us about what this challenge is, why you picked October, and how Spencer's office can get involved, how even if you listen to this podcast 2 weeks into it, how you still can get involved, and what is this challenge about, what does it represent, and how does it work?
Yeah, first off, appreciate, Terry, you guys jumping on this and stepping up and acting, right? You guys talk the talk, but now you're walking the talk, which, again, I'm super excited about. And you guys going for a companion dog, right? That means that you are providing a veteran or first responder with a stable, obedient, well-trained dog that can totally change the outcome of their life and, possibly save their life, which is huge, right? And by sponsoring a companion dog, you're also bringing a care package with that sponsorship. So we get the dog and we do a care package, which is a year's worth of food, veterinary services, pet insurance, toys, leashes, professional training sessions, everything. So we want to reduce those barriers to a guardian getting a dog to benefit from. So you're providing that whole package at the value that you guys are going for. So amazing. I really do appreciate that. So the idea behind the challenge really is to, we picked October because I believe that's the most moderately tempered month of the year, right? Whether or not you're in Texas or Florida, October is reasonable to be outside walking a mile every day. But we're asking participants to walk 1 mile a day for the 31 days in October. It costs $31 to sign up, and we're asking that participants walk with a prescribed amount of weight. You can sign up for different divisions. There's the champion division, which means you can carry no weight or you can carry up to 10 pounds. There is the elite division, which is up to 20 pounds of weight. The Ironman, which is 40, and then the Juggernaut, which is 60 pounds. And we're asking people to carry the weight because it symbolizes the invisible wounds that our guardians often carry with them on a daily basis. So you're doing this walk every single day. You're putting out, you're challenging yourself, you're pushing yourself into your out of your comfort zone, right? Carrying this weight, and you have to carry it in a suitcase carry. No straps, no backpacks. You have to carry it with a single hand during the entire 1 mile walk, and that should really drive home the experience and really resonate in a visceral manner with what our guardians deal with. They can't share or display sometimes the emotions and the feelings they're having. So we're going to do it for them during this month. Every day we're going to be honoring a guardian that we lost to suicide. So when you sign up, we're not going to publicly post these guardians that we've lost to suicide, but you'll get an email with their picture and a little bit about that individual we're honoring for the day. And that's really it. And all the proceeds are going to go fund all of our programs at Guardian Revival and go right back into our organization to keep moving along and combating this this mental health epidemic. So
Hey, Alex, just for our listeners, it's not just getting a dog from the dog pound or whatever and dropping them off at some guy's house or a woman's house. This is a different kind of dog. You want to just elaborate on why this is so important to donate to this?
Yeah, certainly. So different kind of dog, right? We do service dogs, right, which most of you guys are familiar with already, but a whole other category of canine capability, right? Service dog, we're training our dogs. It takes up to 18 months, 2,500 to 3,000 hours of intensive training to get a service dog pumped out, right? Service dogs have tasks, right? They have to be able to accomplish a certain amount of tasks for their owner, right? Picking up medicine, retrieving a cell phone, picking up a cane, any mobility issues. So service dogs are a very intensive area of the program. Companion dogs are great because they don't necessarily have they're not a service dog, right? So they can't go with you in a public place, right? Like a service dog ordinarily would. But we work with breeders and we breed our own dogs with very unique demeanors, right? So we focus on providing a lab retriever mix or a shepherd. We've given out some Malinois before and a Doberman before, and we're going to look to give out other types of breeds as well at different size breeds, right? And what our goal is we think of a companion dog of how can we maximize the therapeutic and even physical and mental effects that companion dog can have on that recipient. So, for example, if we have a young veteran that gets out and really needs a companion dog, we're going to look to get that veteran a dog that's going to get him outside, right? A higher energy dog like a shepherd. That he'll have to walk that and get that. There's physical benefits is what I'm getting at. Or we might have an older Vietnam era veteran that really can't handle a shepherd, right? So we might look to procure a lab, retriever mix, a lower energy type dog, or maybe even a smaller breed dog. So we really dial it in, And we get a lot of organizations that ask us, well, why can't we rescue? There's so many dogs that need to be rescued, and that's that's so accurate. I wish we had the ability to rescue dogs and redistribute them, but the goal is to provide a stable agent. It should be a stabilizing agent in that veteran's life. Unfortunately, we can't genetically test rescue dogs, and we don't know where they came from and their past experiences. So we genetically test all of our dogs. We know exactly where they come from. They have no physical ailments or known physical ailments. Their behavioral patterns are consistent. They're not aggressive. These are all important things. I've heard of plenty of horror stories of somebody rescuing a dog and the dog biting a family member. I mean, that just throws you in a whole nother, that throws you in a worse place, quite frankly. So we really dial in the why and the approach and make sure that the dog's going to be a good fit for that veteran or first responder and also their family.
Hey, Alex, for those listening, I want everybody to, after this, write down a website and make some type of donation. Whether it's $20 or $2,000, let's get as many vets as we can from this podcast. How do they make that donation? What's your website? And we'll put it on the description, but verbally, what is it?
GuardianRevival.org. So GuardianRevival.org.
All one word, Guardian Revival?
All one, GuardianRevival.org. And you can donate on the website there. And for businesses, right, for law firms, chiropractic offices, insurance companies, any business that wants to become a sponsor, it's an incredible experience to have because you can raise $5,000 over the course of the year, or if you're a large organization and you can raise $25,000 for a service dog. You're a part of the Guardian family now, and you have this direct impact on an individual's life, right? You are the sole sponsor of that dog, and you're going to see that dog go right to a individual that really needs it, and it's an incredibly powerful experience if you can be there physically in person, or even just being there, live streaming it. It's insane to see the look on the veteran's face the moment he or she gets that dog. It's a powerful moment that you don't really get that in the charitable nonprofit world where you can take dollars and be that close to the impact. And that's what we take pride in. We try to bring in our donors, those that are giving a lot of money, we bring them right into the fold so they can see it all happening and see where their money's going. So that this program really does offer that, which we're very fortunate.
Are you videotaping those moments by any chance?
Yeah, so sometimes we do. We do actually have some active duty individuals that have gotten dogs before that wanted to maintain their privacy, which is really, really telling of the mental health stigmas and barriers, right? They don't want people to know they're seeking help or getting a dog for that reason. But we do record some of them, and obviously take pictures and everything.
So what did you get? A miniature poodle? What did you get? Lhasa Apso? What did you get?
I have two Belgian Shepherds. Yeah.
Hey, Alex, just aim south.
No,
when you pull your gun out, just aim south.
I'm in Florida. We already got hit by a hurricane, Alex. We don't need any more.
Are you guys all right?
Yeah. It's actually been beautiful. It's the West Coast that got nailed, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, Alex, I'm teasing you. You got the Belgian Malinois or the Malinois or the
we got
Shepherds.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Two of them?
Yeah. Two of them.
Oh, that's fantastic, man. Hey, Alex, thank you, man. I love these conversations. I really do, because it goes to the heart. I think everybody should watch the movie Oildale, and definitely donate, because that'll put you in the most peak emotional state possible and really commit yourself to something bigger than you are. It's time. Thank you, Alex. Thanks.
And you know what? Hug a vet. We need to appreciate the people that are doing stuff for us. And so I can't imagine what you went through to keep us safe, to be allowed to have a podcast. I mean, we all look at these Navy SEALs and Special Forces as badass guys, but you guys are human.
Yeah.
And what you went through as a human, you actually rose above. You are a superhero. And so I don't think people realize, they think you guys are badass, but you're human. And so we really appreciate you coming on here. Really appreciate you actually doing something to help all the people out there instead of just talking about it. So I'm gonna watch Oildale. I'm gonna donate more, and after this I'm gonna go grab my 40-pound and start walking, because I gotta get ready for Saturday, because I'm doing the Ironman. And Aaron and I's last day of the challenge, we're gonna try and do the Juggernaut on the last day. So I'm not gonna let Monty or anybody else blow me out, but 40 pounds. People give me crap going, oh, I carry an 80-pound sandbag on my shoulder. I go, have you ever done a suitcase carry of 40 pounds? It's freaking hard. And doing it for 31 days to 31 miles, it's hard. So,
need a lot of adjustments after this.
You know what? It was... So I'm going to throw him under the bus because, he deserves it. But Aaron, I asked him, Dr. Aaron, I go, hey, let's go. It was Sunday. Let's go carry we're getting ready to get our hands used to it. I go, let's go carry. You know what he said? It's too hot. Because it was 94 degrees. And I go, you know what, Aaron? I'm just going to say two things. One, I want you to tell Monty and Alex that you just said that. And number two, now I have to go. And I put my lunch aside. I got my car. I went and got my weight, and I carried it. It was 94 degrees. And when I came back, I go, you didn't do it? He goes, no, it's too hot. I go, yeah, you tell those guys it was too hot when they're in the jungle or they're doing this and they're up for 5 days. And that's the whole point of carrying this, is you have to remember what. And every time I wanted to let go, I go, nope, I got 10 more feet I can go. So I really appreciate the challenge, because it gives me that 17 to 18 minutes to really think about what you guys go through. Spencer, I encourage you in your office to do it. I think it's fantastic. Lance, I encourage you to do it, but it's a great thing that you're doing, and I hope you can help some people by doing it.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. You know what? On that note, have a fantastic day.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for the opportunity, and looking forward to seeing you soon, maybe in person someday.
There you go.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Crackin' Backs podcast. We hope you enjoyed, and make sure you follow our Instagram at Crackin' Backs Podcast. Catch new episodes every Monday. See you next time.